2 days later, they find themselves in the town of Scottsburg, Indiana. Well, at least Liv finally knows what state they're in. He wonders if maybe this is Sci-Fi's destination, but Sci hasn't said anything either way. They've left the railroad tracks, and Sci-Fi tells Lev they have to go south on country roads until they can find tracks heading in that direction. Sci hasn't been acting right. It began the night before. Something in his voice, something in his eyes too. At first, Lev thought it was his imagination, but now in the pale light of the autumn day, it's clear that Sci-Fi isn't himself. He's lagging behind Lev instead of leading. His stride is all off, more like a shuffle than a strut. It makes Lev anxious in a way he hasn't been since before he met Sci-Fi. Are you ever going to tell me where we're going? Lev asks, figuring that maybe they're close, and maybe that's why Sci's acting weird. Sci-Fi hesitates, weighing the wisdom of saying anything. Finally, he says, we're going to Joplin. That's in southwest Missouri, so we still got a long way to go. In the back of his mind, Lev registers that Sci-Fi has completely dropped his old umber way of talking. Now he sounds like any other kid Lev might have known back home, but there's also something dark and throaty about his voice now, too, vaguely menacing, like the voice of a werewolf before it turns. What's in Joplin? Lev asks. Nothing for you to worry about. But Lev is beginning to worry because when Sci-Fi gets where he's going, Lev will be alone again. This journey was easier when he didn't know the destination. As they walk, Lev can tell Sci's mind is somewhere else. Maybe it's in Joplin. What could be there? Maybe a girlfriend moved there? Maybe he had tracked down his birth mother. Lev has worked up a dozen reasons for Sci-Fi to be on this trip, and there's probably a dozen more that he hasn't even thought of. There's a main street in Scottsburg trying to be quaint but just looking tired. It's late morning as they move through town. Restaurants are gearing up for the lunch crowd. So, are you going to use your charms to get us a free meal, or is it my turn to try? Lev asks. He turns to Sai, but he's not there. A quick scan of the shops behind him, and Lev sees a door swinging closed. It's a Christmas store. Its windows all done up in green and red decorations, plastic reindeer and cotton snow. Lev can't imagine Sai has gone in there, but when he peers in the window, there he is, looking around like a customer. With the weird way Sci-Fi has been acting, Lev has no choice but to go in as well. It's warm in the store, and it smells of artificial pine. It's the kind of scent they put on cardboard air fresheners. There are fully trimmed aluminum Christmas trees all around, displaying all sorts of holiday decorations, each tree with a different theme. In another time and place, Lev would have loved wandering through a store like this. A saleswoman eyes them suspiciously from behind the counter. Lev grabs Sai's shoulder. Come on, let's get out of here. But Sai shakes him off and goes over to a tree that's decorated all in glittering gold. He sees mesmerized by all the bulbs and tinsel. There's the slightest twitch right beneath his left eye. Sai, whispers Lev. Come on, we have to get to Joplin. Remember, Joplin? But Sai's not moving. The saleswoman comes over. She wears a holiday sweater and a holiday smile. Can I help you find something? No, says Lev. We're just leaving. A nutcracker, says Sai. I'm looking for a nutcracker for my mom. Oh, they're on the back wall. The woman turns to look across the store, and the moment she does, Sai picks a dangling gold bubble from the glittering tree and slips it into his coat pocket. Lev stands there, stunned. Sai doesn't even spare Lev a glance as he follows the woman to the back wall where they discuss nutcrackers. There's a panic brewing deep down in Lev now, slowly fighting its way to the surface. Sai and the woman chat for a few moments more. Then Sai thanks her and comes back to the front of the store. I've got to get more money from home, he says in his Sai not Sai voice. I think my mom will like the blue one. You don't have a mom, Lev wants to say, but he doesn't because all that matters now is getting out of the shop. All right then, says the woman saleswoman. You have a nice day. Sai leaves and Lev makes sure he's right behind him, just in case Sai suddenly has a phantom urge to go back into the store and take something else. Then, the moment the door closes behind them, Sci-Fi takes off. He doesn't just run, he ejects like he's trying to burst out of his own skin. He bolts down the block, then into the street, then back again. Cars honk, a truck nearly mows him down. He darts in random directions like a balloon losing air, and then he disappears into an alley far down the street. This is not about a gold Christmas bulb. It can't be. It's a meltdown. It's a seizure, the nature of which Lev can't even begin to guess. I should just let him go, Lev thinks. Let him go, then run in the opposite direction and not look back. Lev could survive on his own now. He's gotten street smart enough. He could do it without sci fi. But there was that look about Cy before he ran desperation. It was just like the look in Connor's face the moment he pulled Lev out of his father's comfortable sedan. Lev had turned on Connor. He will not turn on sci fi. With a pace and stride far steadier than sci-fi's, Lev crosses the street and makes his way down the alley. Sci-fi, he calls, loud enough to be heard but not loud enough to draw attention. Sci! He glances in dumpsters and doorways. Cyrus! Where are you? He comes to the end of the alley and looks left and right. No sign of him. Then, as he's about to lose hope, he hears, Fry? He turns his head and listens again. Fry! Over here! This time he can tell where it's coming from, a playground to his right. Green plastic and steel poles painted blue. There are no children playing. The only sign of life is the tip of Sci-Fi's shoe poking out from behind the slide. Lev crosses through a hedge, steps down into the sand that surrounds the playground, and circles the apparatus until Sci-Fi comes into view. Lev almost wants to back away from what he sees. Sci is curled, knees to chest like a baby. The left side of his face is twitching, and his left hand quivers like gelatin. He grimaces as if he's in pain. What? What is it? What's wrong? Tell me. Maybe I can help you. Nothing, Sci-Fi hisses. I'll be all right. But to Lev, he looks like he's dying. In his shaking left hand, Sci-Fi holds the ornament he stole. I didn't steal this, he says. Sci, I said I didn't steal this. He smashes the heel of his right hand against the side of his head. It wasn't me! Okay, whatever you say. Lev looks around to make sure they're unobserved. Cy quiets down a bit. Cyrus Finch doesn't steal. Never did, never will. It's not my style. He says it, even as he looks at the evidence right there in his hand, but in a second the evidence is gone. Sci-Fi raises his right fist and smashes it into his left palm, shattering the bulb. Gold glass tinkles to the ground. Blood begins to ooze from his left palm and right knuckles. Sigh, your hand. Don't worry about that, he says. I want you to do something for me, Fry. Do it before I change my mind. Lev nods. See my coat over there? I want you to look in the pockets. Sci-Fi's heavy coat is a few yards away, tossed over the seat of a swing. Lev goes to the swing set and picks up the coat. He reaches into an inside pocket and finds, of all things, a gold cigarette lighter. He pulls it out. Is that it, Sci? You want a cigarette? If a cigarette will bring Sci-Fi out of this, Lev will be the first to light it for him. There are things far more illegal than cigarettes anyway. Check the other pockets. Lev searches the other pockets for a pack of cigarettes, but there are none. Instead, he finds a small treasure trove. Jeweled earrings, watches, a gold necklace, a diamond bracelet, things that shimmer and shine even in the dim daylight. Sigh, what did you do? I already told you it wasn't me. Now go take all that stuff and get rid of it. Get rid of it and don't let me see where you put it. Then he covers his eyes like it's a game of hide and seek. Go before he changes my mind. Lev pulls everything out of the pocket and, cradling it in his arms, runs to the far end of the playground. He digs in the coal, sand, and drops it all in, kicking sand back over it. When he's done, he smooths it over with the side of his shoe and drops a scattering of leaves above it. He goes back to Sci-Fi, who's sitting there just like Lev left him, hands over his face. It's done, Lev says. You can look now. When Sai takes his hands away, there's blood all over his face from the cuts on his hands. Sai stares at his hands, then looks at Lev helplessly, like a kid who just got hurt in a playground. Lev half expects him to cry. You wait here, Lev says. I'll go get some bandages. He knows he'll have to steal them. He wonders what Pastor Dan would say about all the things he's been stealing lately. Thank you, Fry, Sai says. You did good, and I ain't gonna forget it. The old umber lilt is back in his voice. The twitching has stopped. Sure thing, says Lev, with a comforting smile, and he heads off to find a pharmacy. What Sci-Fi doesn't know is that Lev has kept a single diamond bracelet, which he now hides in the inside pocket of his not-so-white jacket.